Good morning, everyone. Guess what time it is? It's 4 o'clock. You know what that means? It's the Triple Threat Show on WXJM, 88.7 FM, and WXJM.org. I am Jeremy, as always, joined by my two friends and co-host,
Shane
and
Hayden.
Wow. Welcome to the show. We do have a lot in store for you today, but as always, I'd like to start off with just a little recap of your guys' week. How was it for everyone?
Bittersweet.
What do you mean by bittersweet?
I had my last two hockey games of the season. We may have one more exhibition game at the end of the month, but it's like 50-50 on whether that will happen. This is like the first Tuesday in a while where I don't have to drive to Haymarket, so it feels weird just having a bunch of free time Tuesday night.
Right, I forgot you don't have practice tonight.
I know, it's such a weird feeling.
We gotta cancel the party.
What are you gonna do with your time?
Well, I'm getting dinner with a friend after this, and probably just chill and do homework, watch the Capitals, probably.
All right, then.
Yeah, we lost both games, unfortunately, but, next season we're going to be a lot better. We'll develop more chemistry. All the other seniors for all the other schools are going to graduate, so we'll be a little bit older than everybody. So next hockey season, Club JMU, watch out.
They're ready.
Yeah.
They're ready.
So ready.
What about you, Hayden? How was your week / day / whatever?
I'm a little exhausted right now because I ran a 7:14 mile, but
Sprinter.
Don't ask about the other 2.5 miles. Don't want to talk about it. But other than that, I'm pretty good.
Not everyone can be Miranda Stanhope.
Yep, not everyone.
Yeah.
Not even me, the best athlete of all time.
Right, best athlete of all time, Hayden Raymer.
Not at all. No, actually the exact opposite of that.
Also,
so if Miranda Stanhope is better at you at distance running, doesn't that make she's only better at that one event than you?
No, I'm the worst athlete of all time.
Okay.
Actually, yeah.
All right.
It was all a joke all along.
Wow. Really?
I feel so betrayed.
That was the one thing I've ever joked about. Everything else is completely serious.
Completely serious.
Completely.
Well, with that out of the way, I'd just like to say, if you ever want to catch some of the show highlights, or if you miss any of the show, you can come check us out on YouTube at The Triple Threat Show. We also have an Instagram. I think it's also at The Triple Threat Show.
Yeah.
We got all the social medias, so come check us out.
Except for, Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah. We got the important ones.
Okay.
And yeah, so let's just get on with the Jamie Sports Report, yeah?
Yeah, let's get going.
Hayden, what do you say we start with this week?
Basketball, as always.
As always. Okay.
I feel like every show we start with basketball.
Okay, we're going to start with basketball then.
Okay.
The men's basketball team, they went 1-2 last week, bringing their record down to 14-11, winning 69-55 versus William and Mary, but losing 66-70 versus Elon and 60-81 versus Delaware.
Less nice.
Now, their season has been on a bit of a free fall ever since COVID hit the team at the end of December, and they've lost 2 starting players. So
to season-ending
injuries, yes. So it seems as if their tournament chances are all but out the window. But regardless, they look to turn to slow or stop the free fall. They have 2 games next week. That is coming on Thursday at the College of Charleston and Sunday at UNCW. Now moving on to the women's basketball team. If I can scroll down to it on my notes page. There it is. The women's basketball team, they lost their only game last week, bringing their record back down to 500 at 11-11. After they lost 67-87 versus Towson on Sunday. Not to worry, they have been pretty hot recently. They have 3 games to turn it around after the loss this week. On Wednesday at Drexel, Friday versus College of Charleston, and Sunday versus UNCW.
What's their record again?
11-11. So they're back at 500. Shane, my good buddy.
Yeah.
You want to pick our next sport?
Yeah, let's do lacrosse.
Woo! Their season kicked off this week with a hard-fought loss, 8-15, against the second-best team in the entire nation, North Carolina. With the loss, they fell from 12th place in the nation all the way down to 13th. But again, that's because it was against the second best team in the nation. Yeah. I'm no lacrosse expert. I know Shane is much more of a lacrosse man. But they're going to look to rebound, get the season back on track. 2 games this week, Wednesday versus Virginia Tech and Saturday at UConn.
So just some analysis into the box score of the game. Freshman Maggie Clark, she had 2 goals. Several other players had either 1 point or 2 points, but Maggie Clark seemed to have the biggest day on offense with the 2 goals for JMU. And the real star of this team, the MVP, the goalie, Molly Dougherty, made 15 saves on 30 shots, compared to UNC's goalie, who made 4 saves on 12 shots. So we clearly had the better goalie in this game, and all the other stats seemed to be even, ground balls, turnovers. It seemed according to the box score, it seemed like a close game. It's just UNC was able just to get more shots on net, and JMU wasn't. So Dougherty really did a good job of keeping JMU in it, just stopping everything, as she's shown to be one of the best goalies in the league. It's just that JMU on offense just needed to get those more shots on net.
I see.
So hopefully we'll look forward to that on Wednesday when they face Virginia Tech.
All right. Hayden, you want to pick our next sport?
What are my options, Jeremy?
Literally all of them.
Swim and dive.
I'm so glad you picked swim and dive, because we don't have any swim and dive.
Oh.
So we'll move on to tennis instead, yeah?
Yep.
All right, the men's tennis team, they went 1-0 last week. They beat Longwood 7-0, continuing their perfect season and continuing their domination, actually.
Yeah.
They still have only given up 2 points all season. That's insane.
This is their second or third sweep so far?
Third sweep. They're 4-0.
Yeah.
And they look to continue their perfect season with 2 games next week. That is Wednesday versus Radford and Saturday at Northern Illinois. So that'll be fun. On the women's side, they went 0-1 this week. That brought their record down to 2-4 after a 1-4 loss versus Liberty on Saturday. This is not all bad. There's not all bad news this week though for them, as for the second time in this spring of just 3 weeks, the duo of Daria Afanasieva and Kylie Molin were named the CAA Doubles Team of the Week. So congratulations to them. They will look to turn around their season with 3 games this week. That comes Saturday versus VCU, and 2 on Sunday versus Morgan State and Coppin State. So that'll be fun. We're looking forward to that. Shane, you want to pick our next sport?
Let's do track and field.
Track and field. Ooh. They competed in 2 different events this past week, that being the Valentine Invite and the Darius Dixon Memorial Invitational. Which one do you want to start with?
The first one.
The Valentine Invite. This was an incredibly successful meet for JMU. The team recorded not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 all-time top 10 finishes at the Valentine Invite. First one being the 4x400 relay, where the team had the second best time in JMU history, with a time of 3:43.79. Next, Miranda Stanhope put up the third best time in JMU history in the 5,000 meter race, with a time of 16:41.54. And in the 200 meter, we had 2 top 10 all-time finishes, with Eberly finishing at a time of 24.87, which is 6th all-time, and Lefebvre, finishing with a time of 24.89, which put her in a tie for 7th place all-time. So it was an incredibly successful event for JMU.
All right, let's give them snaps for a very successful weekend.
But that's not it. That's not it at all. Because we also had the Darius Dixon Memorial Invitation, where Rachel Lloyd set a new school record for the high jump with a jump of 12 feet, 1.5 inches, or 3.7 meters for people who aren't in the United States. Because we have lots of international listeners.
Well, when you see the records on the page, it always gives you the headline's always in meters, but then you have to look into it for the conversion.
Which beat the record set last year by 0.75 inches. So congratulations to her. And we will look forward to more success like this from the track and field team next week when they compete at the Virginia Tech Challenge. All right, Hayden, swung and a miss last time. Give me another sport.
I know there's some soccer news, kind of.
There is some soccer news. Both the men and women's soccer team schedule were released. The main highlight of the spring schedule, it's a much shorter schedule. It's not really for any competition. It's just for just playing, But the highlight of this was the men's soccer team includes 2 games against professional clubs. That being the Richmond Kickers and the Loudoun United. So that's going to be a lot of fun to play against professionals. Those are both away games, so they're not here. So it's going to be a little harder to get to it. But that's going to be really fun to follow along and see how that goes. What about you, Shane? You want to pick another sport for us?
What else is left?
I'll give you the options.
Question.
We've got... you messed up last time. You don't get the options. We've got some baseball. We got some football. We got some golf. And we got some softball.
Let's go with baseball.
Baseball. We have someone on our baseball team. His name is Chase DeLauder. He's pretty good at baseball, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say, Hayden?
I mean, only projected top 10 pick in the MLB draft?
He was named to the Golden Spikes watch list, which is basically saying these are the guys that we're going to watch out for to win the Golden Spikes Award in the season. And their season kicks off actually this week on the 18th.
For those of us who don't know what that award is...
That's an excellent question. This news actually came out about an hour before our show while I was in class, so I did not have time to look into it very far.
All right.
I just saw that he was on the list.
It's like a top college players.
Is it like the equivalent to like a Hobie Baker or a Heisman?
I would assume so.
Sounds about right.
Quote me on
degree.
I mean, if I had to guess, it's golden.
Yeah.
Sounds about right,
Yeah.
I don't really know, though. We'll see. But he's on the watch list, so that's good news. Okay, let's do some football real quick. Actually, we'll do softball first. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the softball team, they kick off their season this week. Again, much like the baseball team. But they have someone, much like the baseball team, ranked in the top 100 of... What?
Nothing. Go.
Ranked in the top 100 of all college players. That being pitcher Alyssa Humphrey, who is ranked number 99 in the country.
That's what I was doing. 9.
Yeah, it said top 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was put on the list, which is super exciting. We get to watch her this season. And then let's move on to some football. We'll do golf last because they're currently in action, and I am watching the leaderboard change as we speak.
Is this for men's golf or women's golf?
Women's golf.
All right.
Men's football. Unfortunately, we have some bad news.
Oh.
They have hired a defensive coordinator.
Oh.
And his name is not Jeremy Lapidus.
That is very unfortunate.
It's very sad.
I think the process is rigged.
You'll find a job someday, Jeremy.
I was looking forward to being the new defensive coordinator for JMU. Instead, we're just going to have to go to someone who was absolutely deserving of the new position. Brian Haynes. He was the co-defensive coordinator for the last 3 years here at JMU. So he also worked with the linebackers. So he's completely qualified for this position. But it should have been me.
Yeah.
Is all I'm saying. He could have been my co-defensive coordinator,
Yeah.
Could have been it.
Would have been a great tandem.
Would have been the best tandem. And I think that's going to lead us into women's golf. So let me bring the mic over here so I can read off the standings after I refresh. Currently, they are at the show at Spanish Trail. That is, they're almost done. Currently, as we speak, JMU is sitting in 11th place out of 16 teams, shooting plus 42.
Ooh.
Most of that coming in today's round, where they're shooting plus 30. Their top finisher, as we speak right now, Tatum Walsh, who just continues to go up in the standings. When I first wrote this down, she was tied 25th. Now she is tied for 14th place overall, shooting plus 5. It looks like they are almost done. They are on their last two holes. There's three athletes to go on JMU's team. 2 of them have 1 hole left, and 1 of them has 2 holes left. So we will look forward to seeing the end of that. It looks like they could jump up into 10th place, because 10th place is sitting at plus 40.
What does first place have?
-6.
Oh, man.
They're not moving up to first. Second place is plus 7. It's been a rough day for everyone.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The best team from today is shooting plus 11.
Oof.
So I guess the conditions are pretty bad right now.
Do you know where this is taking place?
It is taking place at the Spanish Trail Country Club and Spanish Trail Rebel Beach.
Oh, I was hoping for like...
Hold on.
I'm on it, don't worry.
You're on it? Sorry, this is all on the fly. Usually stuff isn't updating during our show. So
Nevada.
What? Oh, it's in Las Vegas. Yeah, it was 1 line lower than I read. So that's the situation right now. It'll be done by the end of our show if you want to keep that page up.
I literally just Googled Spanish Trail Country Club.
Could you go to JMU Athletics and then the women's golf section and click on live standings? That'll take you to the right place. Let us know when that finishes up. Just interrupt whenever. There's one more piece.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now you just threw a lot of numbers at me.
What do you
and
mean?
by numbers, I mean words.
There's one more piece of JMU news, and that is that I would like to congratulate the 34th JMU Athletics Hall of Fame class. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people being inducted. Them being Samantha Smith Barney, who was both an athlete and a head coach of the swim and dive team at JMU. She is actually one of only 2 people in JMU history to win a conference championship as both a player and a coach, leading JMU to a championship as 2001 and 1994. As an athlete, she set school records in the 100 and 200 meter breast and the 200 and 400 meter medley. So she was incredibly successful. Glad to see her getting inducted. Kenny Brooks, who is the all-time winningest coach in JMU women's basketball history, at 700-something% winning percentage over 14 seasons. Incredible. One of his players, Dawn Evans, who is one of the most prolific scorers in JMU women's basketball history, holding the record for points in a career and average points per game. One of the starting quarterback from our football team, Rodney Landers, in 07 and 08. He was a starter, led the 08 team to the number 1 seed in the FBS, whichever one we're in. It's FBS or FCS, and I always get confused.
I thought it was C.
Maybe. I honestly don't remember. I think C is right. I think you're right. Dave Lombardo, he was the women's head coach from 1990 to 2017. That's 28 seasons. 23 of those seasons were winning seasons. Had a record of 337, 222, and 35. And guided the JMU women's soccer team to the 12th most wins by any Division I program in the 90s. So he was incredibly successful. Someone we talked about not too long ago, Jake Lowry. He was a catcher for JMU, recently named to be the manager of the Fred Nats. He is part of one of the greatest. He had one of the greatest single seasons in any JMU sport ever. Where in that season he put up JMU records for games played, triples, home runs, extra base hits, RBIs, and plate appearances. He's also up there in career leads for those. He obviously won Best Catcher that year. So he had maybe the greatest single season a JMU athlete has ever had. Anthony Wallace, he was an All-American in the men's track and field, which does not exist anymore. And last but not least, Jay Woodson, who was an incredible golfer at JMU. He won the CAA Player of the Year in 2004 and is competing in the PGA Tour and other professional tours. So that is the JMU Athletics Hall of Fame class, 34th class. And it's awesome to see him get inducted.
I have a question. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but you said JMU previously had a men's track and field team?
Yes, they did.
What happened to it?
I'm assuming there just wasn't enough people, and they disbanded. They still have it, I'm sure, but it's not as not as competitive.
Yeah.
Because you see, on the JMU Athletics website, there's a women's lacrosse program. There's not a men's lacrosse program. There is men's lacrosse here at JMU.
It's club.
It's club, right. So it doesn't reach the level anymore, or if it ever did. I'm assuming, this is not fact, I don't know this for certain. My best guess is there just wasn't enough talent and they moved down to a club level or something.
Or there just wasn't enough funding for it and they just didn't want to host a program.
Yeah.
That's another my guess for it.
That one is probably more accurate. But I do not know. I'd have to do more research into that.
I also heard the men's club team's pretty good just because the Virginia area just has a lot of good lacrosse programs, and they just all the people who just don't want to play at the D3 level and just want to play something that's like less rigorous than that, like full-time college lacrosse, they come here. And yeah, you have all those talented players from high school coming here for the club team, so I heard they're decent.
Sounds pretty good. I have not followed the club team. I only follow the official teams because it's a lot harder to find stuff on club teams.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure you know that because it's almost impossible to find anything on club hockey.
Oh yeah, it was hard. When I was trying to look into JMU's team, couldn't find anything on them. I knew they existed, and that was about it.
Right. So yeah, it's hard to find that stuff.
Yeah. One of my former lacrosse teammates from high school is on the club team, so that's how I somewhat know about it.
But speaking of, do you want to go into hockey?
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll do some hockey.
We have a lot of hockey news this week. A lot of stuff happened. Let's start off with Tuukka Rask retires.
He just unretired.
What?
Like a month ago. He didn't really retire. But
no, he didn't. He didn't retire. He was injured and he was rehabbing an injury.
He was basically retired.
He never declared being retired. He was nursing an injury.
He all but retired.
Jeremy, you're just making stuff up now.
I think Jeremy just has his facts misinformed.
Nah,
He's
never.
just very misinformed.
Never.
I understand why you would think that because he's old, he's on the end of his prime, injuries are catching up to him, but he was always seen as an option for the Bruins if he could come back healthy enough. And after trying to rehab this injury and after coming back, he still doesn't feel 100%. So he is calling it quits on his career, and what a great career it was. He is one of the best goalies I have ever seen. He has had some of the best performances I've seen this past decade. He is the Bruins' all-time leaders in wins and saves. He is a two-time Stanley Cup finalist in 2013 and 2019. 2013 was when I witnessed his best hockey when he swept the Pittsburgh Penguins, just shutting down the likes of Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Probably one of the best individual goaltending performances I've ever seen in my lifetime. He is a Vezina Trophy winner, and he was a Stanley Cup champion as a backup for the Bruins in 2011. So congrats to him on his great career, and it's very unfortunate that we are seeing all of the goalies of this past decade starting to retire. This was an era of some of the best goaltending in hockey. Henrik Lundqvist recently retired. Pekka Rinne recently retired. He was a goalie for Nashville. Tuukka Rask retires. Ben Bishop is retiring. Jonathan Quick, the 2-time Stanley Cup champion for the LA Kings, his career is coming to an end soon. It's going to be a new era of goaltending for the NHL. And then Carey Price, of course, he is going through some injury issues right now. We don't know if he is ever going to play hockey again, and that's just another one of the great goalies of this era, of this past decade, to be at the end of his career too. So it is very nostalgic just to look back at the primes of all these guys, and like all of these guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame or just going to be like really close to it. So it's just what a run we've been on for goalies in the NHL. And speaking of the Montreal Canadiens, head coach Dominic Ducharme, he has been fired. Montreal, worst team in the league this year, after going on a Cinderella run where they were carried by Carey Price, and giving him an extension, the head coach for an extension for making it to the final. They fired him for the god-awful performance he's had this season.
They only won 8 games under him this season.
Yeah.
I mean, but they have also been, the most injured team in all of hockey?
They've been very injured,
and
but...
they don't have Carey Price.
And you don't have Carey Price. Carey Price was Montreal pretty much. Without Carey Price, this team can't really do much. And I didn't really like this guy as a head coach. He was supposed to be an interim, and then they were like the last team to make it into the playoffs. And they just went on this crazy run that was pretty much just carried by goaltending. Like, no actual good coaching decisions. It was just, you just had the best goalie in the league, and that's why you made it this far. So I didn't like the extension anyway. I thought it was just kind of a blip, an outlier in just performance. So I thought he shouldn't have gotten an extension for that. And the interim head coach is Hockey Hall of Famer, legendary short king, Martin St. Louis. He was a Stanley Cup champion with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He led the league in points. He is 5'9". So he kind of was the first player of the 21st century to open the doors for smaller NHL players to show that they could succeed in this league. And one of the best prospects for the Montreal Canadiens right now is this player named Cole Caulfield. He is 5'7". He is a Hobey Baker Award winner, which is pretty much the Heisman Trophy for ice hockey. So this guy has a goal-scoring knack, and it's just he's being coached by his idol right now.
Yeah.
So that's exciting for them. Hopefully we can see Montreal turn it around. My dad's a Montreal fan, so hopefully they can turn it around sometime soon for my dad's sanity. Another coaching fire that happened this week was Oilers head coach Dave Tippett. Edmonton is not really where they want to be right now. They are outside looking in. They just hired Evander Kane. I mean, not hired, they signed him, just trying to add depth to get into that playoff run. And I don't know if head coaching wasn't really the biggest issue. It was just team construction, in my opinion. So if anything, I thought the GM, Ken Holland, should have been fired based off some of the decisions he's made. One of my biggest issues was just not addressing the goaltending situation. Because you signed a really old Mike Smith, who had a really good season last year, but it's an old goalie who's injury prone, and like you want to keep him. Like, there were definitely better options available. Mikko Koskinen's been okay at best. And in this upcoming draft, there was this A-tier goalie prospect sitting right for you to pick it, and then they passed on him. Well, that's for my benefit, though, because the Minnesota Wild ended up picking that A-list goalie prospect. But like, it's just decisions like that keep putting Edmonton into this position of just not being competitive because of bad managerial decisions. So,
I mean, I feel like it's a lot easier, though, to get a new manager than a new GM, especially mid-season.
Yeah, because GMs, it's a lot harder to find. Yeah, you're right. There's always going to be head coaching options available.
You can always use that like new manager to kind of like light a fire under the players.
Yeah.
And so that way, maybe they're hoping that will fix it and they'll address that in the offseason. I don't know.
Yeah, because mid-season you're just hoping for that quick fix.
Mm-hmm.
So replacing the head coach, that could temporarily maybe spark some kind of success. GM, that's more for like long-term goal-based stuff. Their new head coach is Jay Woodcroft. He was the assistant coach, promoted to head coach on an interim basis. We'll see what goes on there. And their Pacific Division partner and rival, Calgary, just made a huge trade.
Mm-hmm.
NHL trade deadline's approaching, and this is the first of what I hope for many big trades that are about to come. Tyler Toffoli of the Montreal Canadiens, as we were talking about earlier, was traded to the Calgary Flames in exchange for a first-round pick, a fifth-round pick, Tyler Pitlick, and Emil Heineman.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go over Tyler Toffoli. Tyler Toffoli was a recent free agent signing for Montreal. He is projected as like a top 6 forward, more like a second line or third line guy. He's got a knack for goal scoring, more of a sniper. In 37 games played this season, he has 26 points. So when you're playing for the worst team in the league, 26 points in 37 games is pretty good. So when you get put with like better teammates and a better system, you can expect better numbers going forward. He had a really good season for Montreal last season. He was at like a 40-goal pace if he played a full season, or like at least close to it, like a career year. So maybe he can get back to those numbers. He's still in his prime. He's 29 years old. He's a Stanley Cup champion with the Los Angeles Kings, so he's got experience in the playoffs there. And he will slot in probably on second, third line in Calgary. And this is just a great fit for Calgary. I don't know if it's enough for them to beat the likes of Las Vegas, but it's definitely a good start to stand a chance.
Well, I mean, especially with Calgary, their biggest issue right now is depth.
Depth scoring, yeah.
Like, I mean, their first line is one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
And so if they can just add that depth that'll keep them in the other shifts going, then, I mean, they could easily compete here in the playoffs.
Yeah. One of my issues with them, though, is like they have players that are having good seasons. I just don't know if it's sustainable for them. Well, Mangiapane, he's on pace to have like a 30-goal, maybe 40-goal season. I don't know if that's going to be sustainable for the playoff run. Like, this is his first breakout year. Can Sean Monahan bounce back to a player that we thought he would be? Because he's kind of a player who had like, just wait till he breaks out, and then he just kind of never did. And Michael Backlund is not really an ideal second-line center. He's kind of like a 40-point guy. But Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk, and Elias Lindholm, that first line for them has been killing it this season. And they have a Vezina-caliber goalie in Jacob Markstrom. So maybe they can get far based off just dominant goaltending. But
That's all you need.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's all you need.
Just talking about that.
Like, we saw what Montreal did, so if Jacob Markstrom could do something similar to that,
add a little bit more depth pieces in their set.
So, overall, I like this move for Calgary's side. Now let's look at Montreal's side. They have a first-round pick. Probably going to be a late first-round pick because this is going to be a playoff team. You're going to get, a prospect, and just who knows what that's going to turn into. Fifth-round pick, just a late round, whatever. Tyler Pitlick is just a bottom 6 forward, and I think Montreal just wants to reunite the brothers because they already have Rem Pitlick, who they picked off waivers earlier this year. He's doing pretty good in Montreal, considering how bad things are going in Montreal. Rem Pitlick is having a decent season, and they're just getting of his brother, and just hopefully you got that brother connection there. Maybe it'll turn into something. Just a depth forward, bottom 6 guy. Then Emil Heineman, he is a second-round pick in 2020. So, again, higher drafted prospect, second-round pick. Who knows what he's going to turn into. He's having a decent season for a 20-year-old in the SHL, which is a pretty good professional league. So for a 20-year-old, he's putting up like a point every 3 games, that could be something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a bottom 6 guy you can rotate. If you're lucky, you could contribute on a regular basis. But overall, it's a good rebuilding trade for Montreal. Just, you got your picks, you have a decent prospect, you just got to reload the cupboards with more depth prospects.
I mean, that's what I read was as long as Heineman turns into a guy who can be a serviceable second or third line forward, there's no way that Montreal can lose this trade. So.
Well, it's just best player traded is usually the team that wins it.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, there's the only time will tell. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it works generally.
Generally.
That best player traded, that could be you could trade a second round pick and that could turn into the greatest player of all time. Then you got the best player out of that thing. But you're not going to know.
I mean, you'll know these for 6 years.
You're not going to know for a while who won this trade, but in the present, which is clearly what Calgary is going for, they're in a win now mode. They want pieces. They want to go on a cup run. Was this beneficial for them?
Yes.
Who won this trade in the moment?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Generally speaking, whoever has the best player in the trade, they usually win. And right now, Calgary wins this trade just because they have the best player and he's got a few years left on his contract still.
But hey, they got a first round pick for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really good value for Montreal. And looking at their division leader, the Vegas Golden Knights. Tomorrow, Jack Eichel makes his return.
Yeah, he does.
We've been talking about him.
Already?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was skating around the All-Star break on his own.
He's been cleared for contact. He had surgery in November. It is February. It said he would take about 3 months to recover. And he is back.
Isn't that dumb?
What are the Sabres doing?
Isn't that dumb? The Sabres were like, nah, we're gonna not use one of the top players in the entire NHL because, well, we want you to get this surgery. So instead of having you gone for 3 months, we're gonna have you gone for multiple years.
A surgery that is longer to recover from and has more long-term health side effects. They wanted that surgery over this other surgery, which is newer, doesn't have as much information, but has a less recovery time.
I mean, I guess only time will tell, but, what are the Sabres doing?
They're dumb.
Yeah, that was just... And you just, ruined all his value because you're trying to trade an injured player.
Yeah.
So, there was no value whatsoever. And if you let him have the surgery...
They didn't get that bad of a return.
Oh, it was a good return. Alex Tuck is a point per game for them right now. And they have, a first-round pick and a pretty good prospect. I'm just saying it was just poorly managed on Buffalo's part. But Jack Eichel's making his return. In order to fit within the salary cap, Mark Stone is going on long-term IR with a back injury. So he's probably out until playoffs. And they're kind of pulling a Tampa Bay Lightning situation over here. You guys familiar with how they manipulated the salary cap?
Yep. I mean, they need to do it. They got so much
Outside of that,
salary.
Trade away players.
Yeah, they're not trying to do that.
No.
Exactly.
They're just going to pull a Tampa.
That's fine.
And it works.
In the rules.
It's in the rules.
Right, whatever works.
So for those of you who don't know, NHL has a salary cap. They are currently over it. But because of long-term IR rules, you pretty much just eliminate that cap space if you put that player on long-term IR. And in the playoffs, there's no salary cap, so they can come back and they can just play with that full roster. So it's very exciting. This team is definitely a contender in the West. The two-headed monster of the division is Colorado and Vegas. So this will be an exciting matchup if Eichel can come back healthy and look like the Jack Eichel we all know and love. Wow, there's a lot of Pacific Division news this week.
Yeah, is there?
Yeah. So, a team that's definitely not a playoff contender is the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah, they're not much.
And
they're the best.
No.
Oh, okay.
And Well, they're not doing so good. They may not even have an arena for next season.
I thought they already paid all their dues or whatever.
For this season.
Oh, that was just for this season.
They figured out payment, but their whole arena for next season is kind of ridiculous. Because right now what they have going on is that they're going to play at Arizona State University.
Sun Devils, let's go.
Yeah, the Arizona State University has a D1 hockey team, and they have about a 5,000-seat arena. And the NHL is currently trying to work on a situation where they can use that for NHL games.
How much money to buy the team?
I have no clue. Gary Bettman is dead set on not selling this team.
That's dumb.
It's so
We should
dumb.
buy the team.
Isn't he trying to relocate, though?
No.
He is not trying to relocate.
They are dead set in
Everything
keeping it in
says
Arizona.
everything says move them to Houston. Arizona failed, but Gary Bettman refuses. He's been so smug about it.
When you have a hunch, you have a hunch.
We should buy the Arizona Coyotes.
I thought we were buying the Broncos.
Well, we don't have $4 billion, but we might have
$400 million.
$500,000.
I'm telling you, we just start selling NFTs. We're there.
Also, I don't think we're going to be able to outbid the Mannings.
I don't think you understand how much NFTs go for, Jeremy.
I don't think I understand if you have any NFTs or not that you are currently planning on selling.
Jeremy, I'll open MS Paint right now. I'll make 5 by the end of the show.
Getting back on topic here. They're trying to negotiate with Scottsdale on building a new... I can't remember where in Arizona. They're trying to negotiate building a new arena. And
Probably
then
Glendale.
Or Glendale. And then Arizona State, they have to do construction on the locker rooms to make them compliant with the NHLPA. So it's just such a complicated, overly complicated than it needs to be. Relocating them would be so much simpler. But like I said before, Gary Bettman absolutely refuses to move these guys. I'm starting to think he has a bet with somebody, and that is why he's ignoring all logic to move them. Houston would be such a good market for them because it has a lot of potential for growth. It's a highly populated area. If they have an NHL team, that fan base could easily grow and develop. And if you were a player, how would you feel about, you're playing in packed arenas filled with tens of thousands of fans, and then you go to Arizona when there is sub 5,000 people in a college arena? How would you feel if you were an NHL player and you were going into that situation?
Sounds like an easy not home field advantage anymore. I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel. I just feel like it'd be a lot easier than going into a place with 20,000 fans that are yelling at me. I think it'd be easier to go into a place with only 5,000 fans yelling at me.
I don't know. I would just be extremely disappointed with ownership if I was a player at this point.
Yeah. Because, especially if you're a part of the Arizona Coyotes, really? I worked my butt off to make it to the NHL, and what I get for it is to play in a college arena. You're brushing shoulders with D1 21 years olds.
Everybody wants to relive their college days, right?
Yeah, isn't that a thing?
Yeah.
But, never mind, guys.
I'm currently living them.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
What about you, Shane?
Are you living your college days right now?
Just like us?
Yes, I am.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Who would have
If
thought?
I was an NHL player, it's ridiculous. Playing only a
Sorry, I was
sub
trying to refresh.
5,000 seat arena at the NHL level, because there's rinks in New Jersey, New York, and Canada that serve youth hockey teams that can hold more people than this.
Wow,
They should go play in Haymarket.
They should go play in Haymarket. There's no seats there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They love it.
Oh no, there's seats.
There's not.
There's that little balcony on the top.
There's not
You
seats
bring
up
out a
there.
pull-out chair. Bring your lawn chair.
Bring your lawn chair?
Yeah.
Okay. Will do.
And then our final bit of NHL news. Brad Marchand. He is the most individual suspensions in NHL history. Last week, he was suspended 6 games for deliberately high-sticking and punching in the head Penguins goalie Tristan Jarry. Looking at the video, it's pretty much self-explanatory what he did. He just went out of his way and just jabbed Tristan Jarry below the face mask with his stick. And then, like, after a whistle during a scrum, he just kind of went out of his way and just punched him in the head. And he's currently trying to appeal his suspension. One of the comments he made was, it's unfair that he's getting suspended for 6 games because there was no risk of injury on the play, and it's basically all off his suspension history, which is kind of the point because the suspension requirements are potential injury, intention, and history of suspensions. And he's just complaining about the third criteria for length of suspension. So which is really stupid on his part, because it's unfair that they're doing that. Well, it's in the rules, buddies, so maybe if you would stop being a... Can't say that on radio.
A jerk.
Yeah. Being an idiot, he could, just try not to go out of your way to punch a goalie in the face or, like, stab him with your stick. Like, come on, dude. Like, it's... And he's also given up, with his 8 suspensions, he's had to forfeit $1.4 million in salary in total for all the suspensions he served.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
We could buy the Coyotes with that.
That's
multiply that by 400, yeah.
That's enough to start our NFT business.
Oh my God, Hayden.
Imagine me with like 10 computers, all in MS Paint.
Wow, I think you'd need more hands.
No.
No? Okay.
But
Cool.
It goes to a good cause because the fines go into the NHL Player Association, and then they use that to help pay for certain things. Because I know Leonard...
He's just doing charity work.
Robin Leonard likes to joke that, Brad Marchand is paying for my antidepressants, so... And all my pills for my psychological issues. So it's like, yeah, thanks, Brad Marchand. You're paying for all my medical needs.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brad Marchand.
All right, that's all the news I have for the NHL. Is there any updates on MLB CBA Talks? Or
we were doing the other segment first.
We can do baseball first. We'll do baseball first, yeah.
Okay.
Do you not want to?
No, we can. It's just depressing.
It is.
Just 3 depressing stories in a row.
Woo!
Number 1. It's February 15th. Those of you who aren't familiar with baseball. Pitchers and catchers were supposed to report spring training today. But, since the owners decided to lock out the players, that's clearly not happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, just kind of like, we're at this point of the season where we're going to 100%, they're going to miss games. And the worst part about that is if they're going to miss games, then at that point, both sides are just going to dig their heels in. And they're just going to prepare for winter. Because I don't think there's going to be a season.
At all?
At all.
At all.
At all.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
That's the point I'm at.
that is awful.
Your team has changed a whole lot.
Yeah. I mean, when you see the things that the owners are proposing at this point, I don't know how you don't feel that way. When the owners are like, hey, we don't want to pay minor leaguers during spring training, and we want to take away 30 jobs, minor league jobs. I don't know how you don't feel that way.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Because there's, no gain for the players. Like, hey, we just want all the benefit.
Well, yeah, that's
I mean, the players immediately were like, no.
Yeah.
And it's like, sure, Jim Bob down in High A, who's never going to make it out of High A, it's like, okay, yeah, he's not providing any value to the system. But, these guys who play in the High A, these are your future managers. These are your future college coaches, your Little League coaches, the guys who will go teach kids and give that passion of baseball to the next generation and instruct the next generation. Those are so integral parts of the baseball pipeline. And if you're getting rid of 30 times 30, that's what? 900 jobs?
That is 900 jobs.
That's 900 potential future coaches that you're kind of hey, yeah, we don't need you now.
Yeah, but owners don't care as long as it doesn't fulfill their bottom line.
Yeah, but they already barely pay them a living...
Yeah.
They don't pay them a living wage.
That's why there was a whole big deal about housing. That they made some kind of agreement about that. You
Like,
know?
it was monumental, and, like, everyone was like, oh, finally. Because they're getting some sort of help.
1 step forward and 3 steps back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just... Ownership is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Rob Manfred said that it was a risk to own a baseball team.
It's not.
It's not. To own a sports franchise, one, that's not your primary job. That is a side job where...
It's an investment that makes you nothing but money.
Yes.
It can depend how much money you make, but you will always make money.
And if you somehow lose money on this...
You are the stupidest owner of all time.
Not even that. Then, hey, it's like, oh, I lost all this money. Let me report that to the IRS and get all these tax breaks. Because I lost money in my business.
And also, worst comes to worst, you sell it
You
for
sell
over
it.
$1 billion.
Exactly.
Oh, way over $1 billion at this point. The Kansas City Royals, which is a small market team, sold for like $1.5 billion.
Yeah. So, if you really feel like you're losing, go get a cash grab of $1 billion,
Yeah.
and you'll be set for at least 2 generations.
At least.
At least.
What kind of spending habits does you have if that
I don't
doesn't
know what
last
kind
you?
of. I don't know what
If
kind
that
of.
only
stuff
lasts you 2 generations.
I don't know what kind of stuff my children would be investing in.
His children only buy just Porsches. Every single day they buy a new Porsche.
And only caviar for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
And it's just like... I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just...
It's
depressing.
I would be emotionally devastated if there wasn't an NHL season. Because like almost every other night in the apartment, I'm like watching a hockey game. And it's just, if I just didn't have that, I don't know what I would do with myself.
I don't know. This just like makes me not like baseball. That's all it's doing. It's just like... Why should I watch the MLB?
Why do I invest myself emotionally in this if it only just hurts me?
It's an excellent question.
I don't know. Why are you a Vikings fan?
Yeah. Why are you a Vikings fan?
Because there are Justin Jefferson has his moments
Okay.
where it's like, all right, this is good. And then the rest of the team just proceeds to disappoint me. I mean, there was like the Bradbury catch that was pretty funny.
Good.
That was pretty
good.
Oh, but still a net negative, and all I have is hope for something better.
Yeah. Anyway, baseball.
Other sad news. I mean, I guess it's not really sad news if you're not a like DMV resident or Nationals fan. But Ryan Zimmerman, about an hour ago, retired from baseball. Had a 17-year-long career, all with the Nationals. Was their first ever draft pick when they moved to DC. I mean, he leads franchise records in pretty much any hitting statistic you can think of. Other than like stolen bases, because it's Ryan Zimmerman, he's not stealing any bases. I gotta double check on some of his other accolades, but I mean, he's 39th in F4 since 2005. 29th in home runs, and you got to remember he was also like
Incredibly injured all the time.
Like towards the end of his career,
he barely ever played a full season.
The last full season he played was 2017, and that was 144 out of 162 games. Before that was 2013.
That was the first season he moved to first base.
Like, he just was not healthy a lot. I mean, he was a 2-time All-Star, won a Gold Glove, 2-time Silver Slugger.
He's only a 2-time All-Star?
Only a 2-time All-Star.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember, like, most times teams only really get one representative, unless they're, like, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And the Nationals had some pretty good players throughout their years.
They did, yeah, they did.
Bryce Harper, you know.
Rendon, Soto, Scherzer,
Strasburg.
Gio that one season.
I mean, they had a couple good relievers some of those years.
Yeah.
Too. So it's just... Jason Worth was pretty decent.
He was. That 2012 team was stacked. Oh my god.
He was like he was actually better than Jason Worth in F4 over the 17-year playing career, but he also played longer in those years than Jason Worth. Anyways, back to the point. It's just, he's Mr. National, employee number 11. His number is going to be retired if not this year, next year.
Yep.
And no one's going to take it on the Nationals because everyone has immense respect for him. I mean, even towards the end of his career, like, he could just be, like, cashed out and be like, yeah, I mean, I'll play, but, like, I'm not going to do anything extra. But they brought over first baseman Josh Bell and from the Pirates. And when they traded for him, the big, like, narrative was like, I mean, if he can hit, he's going to be good, but he can't play any defense at first. It's not going to be, like, all his value is going to come from hitting. And then there was a storyline, like, only a couple people really talked about it, was pretty much every day during spring training after he came over. Zimmerman was out there at first base working with him, like, teaching him how to play first. Because, I mean, he had transitioned over to first, and that was a big learning curve for him, too. And this year, Josh Bell was an above-average defensive first baseman. When over his career, he was -3 outs above average every year, at least. And he was +4 this year. I mean, that's a massive jump. That's 7 outs above average that he added. And so, it's just, he's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, just a
like
really great player.
A really great player. Hall of Very Good is generally like that kind of player. But he's like, again, number is going to be retired.
Franchise legend.
He also just did so much for the community in DC.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just he has a charity that always helps a lot of people every year, and you know he's done a lot for people and the fans, and I mean people saw the writing on the wall. His last game, he had a huge standing ovation.
Like, took him out early.
Yeah.
So he could get that standing ovation.
So, you know, he's still getting paid for 5 more years. It's in his contract. 5 years after he retires, he'll still be getting paid.
I mean, he could have kept playing, too.
I know.
He had, like, a 900 OPS against lefties last year. He's just so good at baseball. And I'm sad to see him go. But, I mean, this is kind of like the beginning of a new era for the Nationals. They're not good anymore. Scherzer's gone. Zimmerman's gone. Pretty much everyone from that 2019 squad is gone at this point.
We're back to
square one.
Back to back to before pre-2010 baseball, baby.
Isn't Soto still on there?
Yeah. Zimmerman was there in pre-2010 baseball.
But he's saying, like, anyone from, like, who's good.
Yeah, Zimmerman.
Soto's the only guy that's good on that squad.
I mean, that's kind of how it was before Harper came up.
Yeah.
It was just Zimmerman. Then Harper came up, and they brought their entire farm system and whatever. And
no offense to Zimmerman, but Soto is 10 times better, though.
I'm not arguing with you.
I don't think anyone would.
He's so good at baseball.
Yeah. Just, you know, I mean, every team has to reset. It'll be hopefully a quick rebuild. You know, 10 years. I mean, it only took us 8 years to get a contending team the first time.
It won't be that long this time.
Relatively quick.
You already have.
It's not short, but it's not long. You know, so hoping for shorter than that, maybe even sooner. Maybe I mean no longer than that.
I mean, you already have Kybert Ruiz up. He's going to be a great catcher for the Nationals. Cade Cavalli's not too far behind him. He's going to be a great starter for them. Brady House was like their first-round draft pick last year. He looks really good. So, yeah, it'll be a. I mean, there's not going to. I mean, it's gonna be a fun year for the Nationals. But,
I was gonna say.
Real quick before you get to your last baseball story, the women's golf tournament is all but over at this point. They moved up into what? Yeah, there's 2 teams left, but they are not near JMU.
Oh, true.
They're not going to really matter. Maybe Old Dominion.
If they were really bad.
They are currently sitting at plus 41, 10th place overall out of 16. There's 2 teams left. Old Dominion's at plus 38, so if they play really badly in those last couple holes, they can move up a spot. But I don't see it happening. And we still have Tatum Walsh at tied 13th with plus 5. So, not a great showing, but I mean, everyone played horribly on that last round, so.
So what place are they in right now?
10th. So they moved up since we last talked.
Gotcha.
Anyway, we've also reached the top of the hour. You are listening to the Triple Threat Show on WXJM and WXJM.org. This is, as I said, the Triple Threat Show hosted by me, Jeremy, my two friends and co-hosts,
Shane.
and
Hayden.
And let's finish up your...
Did you mention we're on 88.7 FM, Harrisonburg?
I'm not sure if I did. Maybe I blew my mind. But we are on 88.7 FM Harrisonburg, Virginia, WXJM.org. Yeah.
Triple Threat Show.
Thanks
Hayden,
for
would you like to
listening.
continue?
No, that's all baseball. Like I said, it's just 3 really sad stories.
I've got one, because you only had 2 there. I think
3.
you've only said 2.
I talked about... I mean, it was 2.5.
There was an update on the investigation into Tyler Skaggs' death.
Oh. So 4 really sad stories.
I thought that was your third one. For those who don't know, Tyler Skaggs was an incredible reliever. Starter?
He was a starter for
he
the
was-
Angels.
He was a pitcher for the Angels, and he tragically passed in an drug overdose. And investigations into it said there was a whole team ring kind of thing of drugs being passed out and stuff, and that ended up killing him. This past week, his attorney said that he will name the Dark Knight, Matt Harvey, as a possible source for the drugs.
It was the defense.
Yeah. The defense said the attorney would...
Okay. Well, you made it seem like it was Skaggs' attorney.
Oh, sorry, no, it was weirded wordly. Whatever.
Weirded wordly.
Yes.
Worded weirdly, yeah.
Yeah, worded weirdly in the little update, but gist of it is they've named him as a possible source for the drugs. So,
Do you want me to...
go for it.
Okay, so it was essentially a clubhouse attendant is being charged in kind of being thrown under the bus and being like the scapegoat of this whole thing. Eric K, I believe is his name. And he said he was like providing drugs to Skaggs. And then his attorney, or the defense attorney, whatever, however you want to phrase it, they were like, actually, it is Mets legend Matt Harvey, who then went to the Angels after leaving the Mets after a couple good years, who gave him these pills. And I think, from what I understand, was that Matt Harvey had laced
I don't know.
pills, and then that somehow got to Skaggs. It's all really weird. It's still like a developing story. When it's all finished up, we can do a whole deep dive on it. But I mean, that's to name another major league player is really worrisome for the sport, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
You said that was it for your baseball?
that was it for baseball. Just
All right.
sad stuff.
I'm not sure if we're gonna have time for favorite things segment because there's some basketball. We'll circle back to it if we have time.
Yeah.
Let's hit up some basketball. Yeah. The trade deadline was last week. There was one massive move, which we'll get to in a bit, and there were a few other minor moves. There was a 4-team trade between the Bucks, Pistons, Clippers, and Kings, where the main pieces being moved were Dante DiVincenzo of the Bucks heading to the Kings, and former first top 5 pick Marvin Bagley of the Kings being traded to the Pistons, along with a bunch of other players and some picks. The Wizards made a couple moves. They traded Montrezl Harrell to the Hornets for Ish Smith and Vernon Carey Jr. I don't know. And the big one for them is they traded Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans to the Mavericks for Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis really came on with the Nets. Sorry, not the Nets, the Knicks, where he kind of showed up and then he got hurt. He's been plagued with injuries, but I think this was a good move for the Wizards. They get to dump the a massive contract of Davis Bertans, and they get another big contract, but he's probably a better player, and I think this works out better for them. Just help out in the short term, kind of. They're not really going to be competing. This was more for the Mavs to dump salary than anything, which they didn't really do, because they got the massive contract of Bertans back, but it dumps a little bit of salary. So I don't really understand it. But
it's a weird move altogether.
It's a little bit of a weird move, but
I mean, is there a difference in length between those two salaries? Because I don't know exactly what the contract details are for either of them, but I know they're both huge contracts that don't seem like they're working out for either side. Davis Bertans got paid after being very good at shooting one season, and then he's just kind of fallen off a cliff. He'll have really hot shooting nights every once in a while, but he's not really worth the money he's getting paid. And same kind of thing with Porzingis, where he was really, really good, and then he got hurt, and he's not worth the money anymore. So, we'll see how it works for both these teams. The Wizards are kind of on the playoff bubble after getting off to a hot start, and the Mavs, they need to compete with Luka as much as they can. The last massive trade that I kind of alluded to earlier, guys, Ben Simmons was traded. He was traded to the Nets, along with Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks for James Harden and Paul Millsap. Now, we talked about this a little bit.
Huge trade.
This is a massive trade. We talked about a little bit off air when it first happened on Thursday, the day of the deadline. And I told you that the Sixers lost this trade. Easy. They gave up someone that, in my opinion, was not someone that they have replacements for in Seth Curry. Seth Curry, the brother of Steph Curry, he's really underrated outside of the diehard NBA community. He is an incredible shooter. He's just a really good guard, and he's not, I mean, obviously Embiid is the centerpiece of that, but they're not doing anything without him, because otherwise they're just going to triple Embiid and they don't have shooters. That was a big problem for the Sixers. That was the big problem when they were in one of their playoff runs, is that the Sixers don't have shooters. That was their big issue. So he was their shooter. He was their guy that let them spread the floor, get open. And I don't think that's something they can give up, along with 2 first-rounders.
Oof.
They give up a lot.
Yeah.
They got their star player, though.
It wasn't worth it.
Well, isn't Harden hurt now, too?
I don't know what the deal is
And
with
he's
James
always
Harden.
had,
so
character issues, right?
Not really, but this is the second team in 2 years that James Harden has forced his way out of.
Yes.
He forced his way out of Houston by somehow, and I'm not even sure how he did this, he pretended that he was fat. I don't know how he did this, but he came back from the offseason and everyone was like, oh my god, he's fat now, and he can't play, and his play was declining, so they traded him to the Nets. The very next game, he had lost all of that weight that he had. I don't know how he did it. It's some kind of magic. And he was back to being James Harden,
Yeah. That's what I meant by, I don't know if it's character issues, but, if he doesn't want to play for a team,
he's not going to play.
He's not going to play. So, there's always that risk involved if he's just, checked out.
I mean, he's already out through the All-Star break, at least through the All-Star break, which, I mean, that's soon.
That's coming up really soon.
But, I mean, he's out with a hamstring strain, so...
And I don't know. And then he forced his way out of the Nets. He was like, I'm not playing for you. He didn't officially make an announcement because he didn't want the public blowback. But he was but he was threatening them. Hey, I'm not going to play for you. Let me out, kind of thing. So that happened. I think the Nets won this trade. Actually, you mentioned the All-Star game. Kevin Durant, his former teammate, and LeBron James were the captains. And what they do is it's like a pickup game where they pick teams.
Yeah.
And there were 2 guys left on the board, and it was Kevin Durant's turn. It was James Harden and Rudy Gobert. All right, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this clip.
I have, yeah.
I always love that they do this live because it's hilarious. he was like, I'm going to need some size. Kevin Durant was. He was like, I'm going to need some size, especially with you having Joel Embiid and Giannis on your team. I'm going to need some size, so I'm going to pick Gobert. And the entire time, LeBron, who had a clipboard in his hand, was just covering his face and laughing, just hysterically. It was beautiful because Kevin Durant was in a very similar situation in the All-Star pick not too long ago with Russell Westbrook, who he had also recently broken up with. I love it. It's always fun to watch that. But, LeBron knew what he was doing. He was leaving him on the board. He wanted something to happen. And speaking of LeBron, the last piece of NBA news I have is that he passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for most points in NBA history, playoff, and regular season combined. So he is now officially the points leader. Congratulations to him. He's obviously one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest player of all time. So he, he's just very good at basketball. He's just going to keep climbing up all the other leaderboards, but he's reached the top of this one. We'll see how much he can pile on.
Just going back to the James Harden trade. Remember we were talking about earlier how usually the best player in a trade wins? That one is probably one of the first ones I've seen in a while where it just sounds like they didn't win that trade.
Well, it also just depends how much you give up. If you trade Sidney Crosby, who is going to win you that trade in almost everything, but you give up your entire first line, you didn't win that trade.
Yeah.
Sidney Crosby is the greatest player in that trade.
Well, it's just I've seen on...
But you don't win that trade,
Yeah. Well, it's just I've seen on several occasions, at least in hockey, where if you trade next year's first-round pick, because you have no idea what's going to happen to your team next season. There could be injuries, or just like a really bad injuries, or just like a string of just not having a good season, and then that pick is all of a sudden like a top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's happened so many times in the NHL already. So it's just forever, for me, it's forever cursed trading that next year first-round pick because you don't know how good your team's going to be.
Gotta win now.
Yeah. Gotta win now.
So that could easily bite the 76ers in the butt.
It absolutely will, especially in the NBA, because when you draft someone in the first round, they're immediately playing, probably starting on your team.
Yeah.
Generally. That's what first-round picks are, because there's only 2 rounds in the NBA. So, it's also shorter rosters. It's more a single player can carry your team. But it always affects it more, It always does. That's all I have for basketball.
It's just I've seen it so many times in the NHL where that
final
second first-round pick turns into...
On women's golf?
Yeah, go for it.
They finished 9th.
9th?
Yep.
Oh, perfect.
1 point ahead of Old Dominion.
Awesome. Love it. I'm moving on to football because, oh boy, was it a week in football. There was a Super Bowl. It happens once a year. It's like the biggest thing in television ever. Had like over 100 million viewers.
Had a pretty good halftime show.
It did have a very good halftime show.
I didn't watch any of it.
Really?
Yep.
Oh well. The Hall of Fame class got announced, and so did the NFL. The NFL awards, they also got announced.
Yep.
We'll start with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl.
The Rams, congratulations. They are your 2021 Super Bowl champions, behind Cooper Kupp, who was named the Super Bowl MVP. I think the Super Bowl MVP should have gone to Eli Apple. Because, as we mentioned before, I mentioned it on the show last week, Eli Apple will never win a Super Bowl. Eli Apple is some trash. Eli Apple is the reason they will lose this game. Eli Apple is the reason they lost this game.
Yeah.
He's not the only reason, but he is probably the biggest reason. Also, the offensive line for the Bengals cannot handle Aaron Donald.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I would blame the offensive line more than...
It's not the offensive line's fault. They were playing Aaron Donald.
Yeah. But Eli Apple was covering Cooper Kupp, so...
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just Cooper Kupp just I don't know how he didn't drop the ball there because his arm was like in there and all, but it's amazing how he was able to maintain control of the ball in that touchdown.
Cooper Kupp had maybe the single greatest season by a receiver in NFL history.
Yeah. And they put Eli Apple against him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He not only won Super Bowl MVP, he won Offensive Player of the Year, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
He also put up second most in all-time NFL history in receptions, yards, and touchdowns.
Second most in every single category? Or?
In all three of those categories, second all-time. Only to Calvin Johnson,
Yeah.
who was also being throwing the ball from Matthew Stafford. So, does that make Matthew Stafford the best quarterback of all time?
Yes.
He just had some really good receivers of all time.
Yes. He's had the top two receivers single season of all time. But he did this, the only other receiver to do all three of those things. When I say three of those things, I mean win the Triple Crown of receiving in a single season.
Calvin Johnson?
No, it's not Calvin Johnson.
Really?
Because he never won a Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
I was including Super Bowl and stuff. All the stuff he did this season.
I thought you were talking about reps, yards, touchdowns.
Yeah, he's done that. Yeah. The only other receiver in NFL history to have done all five of those things, Triple Crown for the three, Super Bowl MVP, and Offensive Player of the Year. Give me a guess. Greatest receiver of all time. Who is it?
No, I don't want to say Antonio Brown.
No. You don't know. It's Jerry Rice, who is the greatest receiver of all time.
Oh, God, that's obvious.
He did this. Jerry Rice did that over his career.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp did all of that in one season.
It's pretty good.
I want to put that in perspective for how incredible of a season he just had. So he won Super Bowl MVP. Congratulations to Matt Stafford, Odell Beckham Jr., Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
All those players that won their first Super Bowl. They deserved it. Both of these teams deserve to win.
It was a close game.
The Bengals are going to have more chances than the Rams are.
This isn't even the best Bengals team. There's still so much room for improvement.
Yes. The Bengals are much younger. They're going to have more chances to be back. The Rams are an older team with expiring contracts. It's rentals. They rented out a lot of the players that they have on this Super Bowl run. Odell and Von Miller, they rented them out for this season,
Yeah.
And it paid off. It worked. But if it didn't work, then they were going to have to... Because they don't have a first-round pick until, I believe, 2028.
Ooh,
So,
wow.
the Rams needed a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because their window is shutting soon. So, congratulations to them. It worked. Moving on to the NFL honors. I mentioned earlier that Cooper Kupp won the Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, also not really in question, goes to T.J. Watt. He tied the single-season sack record.
In three less games.
Because he was hurt. He played less games. He probably should have beaten it because there was a sack that wasn't scored a sack on the scorecard for him. So he probably should have set the record. But it's all right because he's tied with Michael Strahan, one of the best Giants of all time. Whatever. Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year being Jamar Chase and Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons ran away with this award. He was in conversations for Defensive Player of the Year just in general. So he's got a bright future. He's an incredible talent at linebacker. He played every single position on the field. Like all of them. Name a position, he played it on the defense. And I think he even played some offense too. So,
why not?
Yeah, why not? Exactly. He had an incredible season. Jamar Chase set the rookie record for yards and touchdowns and all of that stuff. He broke Justin Jefferson's record from last year.
LSU. LSU wide receiver core was just so stacked.
Oh, absolutely. MVP, Aaron Rodgers. A bit surprising to me because I didn't think the media would give it to him because of the whole COVID situation, but he absolutely deserved it. Regardless of off-the-field issues, he was the clear MVP this season. That wasn't really up for discussion. It was just whether or not he would get the award. Andrew Whitworth, Rams offensive lineman, named Walter Payton Man of the Year, often called the most prestigious award you can win. That's all for off-the-field work. He just won a Super Bowl, and he's retiring. He's 40 years old. He's played.
Good for him.
He's played for a very long time at a very high level. He deserves to ride off into the sunset like this. Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel. He had to deal with injuries, and he still got the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. That is incredibly impressive what he did. Imagine what he could have done with a healthy team. And last but not least, Comeback Player of the Year went to...
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow won Comeback Player of the Year, obviously led the team to the Super Bowl after the gruesome injury from last season. Glad to see people like that back. You know.
Yeah.
Continuation. Let's see. That's the NFL honors. You know. Hall of Fame class was also announced. As always, they have They have the set amount of players that's going to get voted in. So it's not like baseball where only David Ortiz got it. You know. The Hall of Fame class for this year was Tony Boselli. He was a tackle. Leroy Butler. He was a safety. Linebacker Sam Mills. Defensive end Richard Seymour. Defensive tackle Bryant Young. Wide receiver Cliff Branch. Referee Art McNally. And coach Dick Vermeil. So congratulations to all of them for being voted into the Hall of Fame. Obviously you wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame if you didn't have a Hall of Fame worthy career. So these are a lot of modern day players too that are just starting to reach the ability to be voted in. The first 4 or 5 were all modern day players, post 2000s era. So it's really exciting to see these guys start to get in. I'm not sure. That was the main stuff for the NFL. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts about anything that happened this week.
It was just, the Super Bowl happened. It was a good game. It's everything you could have wanted. It was close up until the very end. You had an exciting final drive. You had some controversial penalties. Kind of had everything you wanted in a Super Bowl.
Absolutely. I'm going to try and squeeze this in because we do have 9 minutes. Favorite thing of the week. Go.
Yesterday, rookie Matt Boldy for the Minnesota Wild got a hat trick against the Detroit Red Wings. Future is bright in Minnesota. Let's go.
You can expand a little bit. We have some time.
Okay. Sorry, I felt pressured because we were rushed. Anyway, Matthew Boldy, rookie, just having a phenomenal year. He's point per game in 13 games played. He's just been killing it on that third line with Kevin Fiala. Hat trick against Detroit, as I said earlier. It's just this kid is gonna have a bright future in Minnesota and hopefully a long career with us.
Awesome. Hayden, what was your favorite thing you saw this week?
It was something I experienced.
Yeah?
Just hanging out with you guys on Sunday, watching the Super Bowl.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was nice.
My favorite thing was seeing all those veterans, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Donald, Odell Beckham Jr., all those guys finally win their first Super Bowl. You can see the jubilation on their faces when they got on the field after they won.
SAT word.
You saw, there's the famous picture of Odell now, Tears down his face. You all saw that.
No?
He was bawling. Crying. He was also balling. He's caught a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then got hurt, but whatever.
Did you see the Von Jefferson story?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Van Jefferson won a Super Bowl and had a son on the very same night.
Congrats.
He won the Super Bowl,
Immediately,
booked it out of the stadium, and went to the hospital to see his wife and his child. So it was an incredible night for him. It's one he will never forget. Absolutely one of, if not the greatest day of his entire life. It's 2 milestones on the same day. So and I'm so glad Aaron Donald got a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He absolutely deserves it. He's in the conversation for greatest defensive player of all time. He is tied with Lawrence Taylor and J.J. Watt for most defensive player of the year awards. And for me, it's either him or Lawrence Taylor. I'm going to be a little biased because Lawrence Taylor
is a giant.
Probably the greatest giant of all time.
Probably one of the greatest athletes ever.
Yes, he is probably the greatest defensive player of all time, but I can see Aaron Donald absolutely surpassing him, no doubt. Right now, I think he is. So, I love to see these guys who deserve it get one.
Yeah.
Stafford,
With
yes.
all his suffering in Detroit, it's the least that he could do for
Right.
himself.
And then storybook end of the career for Andrew Whitworth. And you get to see all these guys just...
Jalen Ramsey having to put up with the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
Now he was on a contender now.
Right, and it's just... It's all these guys were deserving of rings. You hate to see when guys leave the league without rings and that deserve it, you know? Like Phillip Rivers, for example. He never got one. He absolutely deserved one. You hate to see stuff like that happen, but it's football and it happens, you know?
Adrian Peterson never got one.
Ooh, we're not going to talk about him.
Okay.
He got arrested for domestic assault this week. But
Again.
Again, this week.
Oh, God.
We're going to save that for next week, though.
Gotcha.
Hayden's question of the week. What you got?
All right, guys. Way too soon Super Bowl predictions for next year. Go.
All right, Shane, what you got for us?
I'm just trying to think what's like possible because I don't know the divisions too well. Let's go Chiefs and
NFC team.
Chiefs and
Vikings.
just so much happened. No, they're just come back to me.
Okay.
All right, Hayden, what you got? Oh, actually, no, sorry, me.
You go. Okay.
I'm going to say Chiefs, and they're going to be playing the New York Football Giants.
Okay. So
All right.
I'm
we
kidding.
live in a pretend world.
I'm
Okay,
kidding.
got it.
They're not playing the New York Football Giants as much as I would love that. They're probably going to be playing whatever. Actually, this is really interesting because it's going to depend where Aaron Rodgers goes.
Yeah.
If Aaron Rodgers goes to another team in the NFC, I say they make it to the Super Bowl. If not, then it's probably going to be the Chiefs versus. God, there's so many moves that could happen in the NFC.
Exactly.
But I will go with the. I'll go with the Cowboys.
Solid pick.
Yeah.
Shane, are you ready?
Let's go with the Buffalo Bills and the Minnesota Vikings.
I got a beautiful one, guys. You guys ready?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Broncos.
Assuming they got Rodgers.
Oh, they 100% got Rodgers.
Okay.
And then the Detroit Lions. You know, they were, motivated by Stafford.
Sorry, can I change my answer from the Cowboys to the Cardinals?
That's a good pick. Yeah.
I'm going to change
Yeah.
it to the Cardinals.
You didn't want to change it to Lions after me?
No, I should have changed it to the Lions, but I already said the Giants, so I can't have two unrealistic things.
I think mine is very realistic.
Right, the Lions, what are they going to do in the offseason to make it to the Super Bowl?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep the same exact roster.
Same exact roster with that atrocious defense,
Yeah, that's how motivated they're going to be.
Man,
and Jared Goff is the quarterback?
No, they have the one guy who threw that one pass, and that's it.
honestly, the
I think he was a wide
NFC
receiver.
looks so much weaker than the AFC.
Oh, it absolutely
Oh,
is.
for
There's
sure.
no question
'Cause I'm
about
going
that.
through the teams, like, okay, if Green Bay losing Aaron Rodgers, and Devontae Adams, right?
Mhm.
They're, like, irrelevant. Like, Seattle maybe losing Russell Wilson. Tampa Bay doesn't have Tom Brady anymore. 49ers.
They're planning on having him back next season.
Can I change it from the Lions? Because that's unrealistic, apparently.
Sure.
The Washington Commanders. They're going to go get out. They're going to go get a QB, and he's going to lead them to the Super Bowl.
Like, the 49ers, I
No,
don't
I
know
mean, you
how
just
good
list the
their quarterback
QBs on the
situation
AFC
is.
side. You got Justin Herbert. You got Joe Burrow. You got Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Mac Jones.
Joe Burrow, yeah.
You
Lamar
mean-
Jackson, I don't know if you already said
You have all of these incredible quarterbacks on the AFC side, and who do you have in the NFC?
Matt Stafford,
Kirk
Kyler Murray,
Kyler
Yeah.
Murray, Dak Prescott, Matt Stafford.
Russell Wilson.
I'm not sure if he's going to be there anymore. That's why I
Yeah.
didn't say Aaron Rodgers either. You
Fair
know,
enough. Jimmy G.
Jimmy G is also getting traded.
To the Commanders.
I don't know, it's just like I hesitate to say Dallas because I feel like every time we expect something out of them.
Well, that's why I changed my answers because they have the team, but it's also the Cowboys, and they won't.
Yeah. Because I thought they had a really good shot this year.
Well, they always have the team.
Yeah.
They always have the team. They just never will because they're the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
So, for that reason, I changed my answer to the Cardinals. And
Should have been the Commanders.
with
Yeah.
that said, Thank you for listening to the Triple Threat Show on WXJM 88.7 FM, Harrisonburg, Virginia, and WXJM.org. I have been Jeremy, joined as always by my two friends and co-hosts,
Shane
and
Hayden.
remember to check out the YouTube at the Triple Threat Show. We have an Instagram, we have a TikTok I haven't posted on that I meant to, but we have all these places. If you missed any part of the show or you think anything should be clipped, it will be there. I promise, eventually. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good night.